Welcome, everybody, to this afternoon's document collaboration session. I'm Kip Fern, and I will be one of your tour guides today, along with Misbah Urazi and James Peters. Today, we are going to be talking about how Outlook and OA specifically are creating easier ways to collaborate with others via email. We all know that there's a lot of pain of collaboration today, so we want to show you in a series of demos what we're doing together. And we also are going to do a bit of a deep dive on our hybrid and on-prem stories as well. And then finally, we're going to have some slides at the end that are going to show you about features that we have not publicly talked about yet, but features that are coming as well by the end of 2015. So some of these demos you may have seen parts of if you've gone to the on-prem Exchange presentation this morning, and some of the keynotes have talked about them. But we'll be giving a slightly different take on it, and also having a chance at the end to ask any questions that you want. So when it comes to collaborating on documents, we've all become accustomed to that pain. We've really become numb to it. So let me give you an example. You have a document that you're working on, and you need others' approval on it. You need their changes. It could be a feature spec that you're working on in Word. It could be a deck for a big presentation that you're doing, or it could be some sort of financial analysis in Excel. But the pattern's the same. You have some information, you've created that doc, and you need others' input on it. So let's talk through how this plays out. Your coworker gets that document when you email it to them, and they save it on their own PC. Then they modify it, they do what you ask, and then they will send it back to you. They may even rename that document when they send it back to you. And then you have to take that information and merge it in with your own thoughts. Or, if you've sent it to more than one person, you have 2, 3, 4, 5 files that you have to merge back in. It's a big pain today, and we all live with it, and we all accept it, right? But we can do better than that, right? We are much smarter than that. And some people out there actually are using OneDrive for Business as a way to facilitate that. I put my file on OneDrive for Business. That facilitates sharing and collaborating. And that's absolutely true. But we want to be focused for our needs on those of us that love living in email. We live in email. We want to stay in email. We don't want to go to other places to make our jobs easier and to complete these tasks. So what can we do to bring that experience into email? Okay. So the good news is we've already started solving some of these issues. Okay. So last year, as part of Office 365, we released our new document collaboration features in OA, and we started by announcing this at MEC just over a year ago. So I'm just curious if you can raise your hand. How many saw my presentation at MEC a year ago? Oh, that's good. Just one, all right. All right, but then we've continued. So right after MEC, we actually released our first wave of these new document collaboration features, and we've been continuously releasing new features since. Right? So to date, we've done two main things in OA. The first part is when sending an attachment, we allow you to easily access your files that are on your OneDrive for Business and share them without ever having to leave your email. Internally, we call these cloudy docs. All right? And they look and behave very similarly to your classic attachments. And because our mantra here is that an attachment is an attachment is an attachment. It really shouldn't matter whether it's a classic attachment or one of these new cloudy docs. Right? As a user, they're all the same. And as a matter of fact, with our new cloudy docs, you actually will see a paperclip icon in your list view so you can easily find them, and you can easily filter on them too. Now the second major piece that we released is that when receiving an attachment, we allow you to edit and reply to that document, to that email, all within a single browser session. Right? So again, today, you would have to download that document, make your changes, rename the document, reattach it, and send it back on its way. But what we've done with our edit and reply flow is make that work all with one click of a button, all within a single browser session. Right? So I have 2 more questions. I'm just curious, how many of you have read these blog posts over the last 6 to 9 months? Okay, we've got a couple over here. Okay, great. Now, how many of you have actually used these document collaboration features in Office 365 today? Okay, good. I look forward to hearing some of your comments at the end. Right, that's a good mix. All right, so today what we're going to be showing you is the next wave of our major enhancements for document collaboration, including how Outlook 2016 is now integrated with OneDrive attachments as well, and how this solution is coming on-prem. And then a few more surprises that I know you'll be very excited about when you see them. But full disclosure, again, if you were at the Outlook session yesterday, or attended Julia's keynote session, or was at the Exchange on-prem session early this morning, some of this will look familiar, but for those of you that weren't, it's all going to be brand new. That's great. So enough talk. Let's get going, and we'll start showing you some stuff. And keep in mind, what we're going to show you here is actually working code on our internal dog food environment. This is actually what we use back in Redmond every single day. Right? So we're the first ones to see it. We're the first ones to encounter problems with it. We're the first ones to fix it. Right? So this is our real live actual accounts that we're going to be demoing off of. So with that, let me introduce Misbah here, and she's going to kick things off with a great demo.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Can you hear me? Mic check. Working? Great. So I'm going to kick things off, and for the purposes of this demo, I'm actually going to be a marketing person at Microsoft. If you can switch over to my screen, that'd be great. So I'm working on a document, as we mentioned in the keynote, for a press release or a blog post on the Real Madrid and Microsoft partnership around bringing fans closer to our players. So this is a draft of the blog post that we want to post, and I'm going to go send it to Kip and James because we've been going back and forth, and Kip is wondering what the final version looks like. So as I do that, go here, and as you notice, Outlook is now side by side with my document. I'm done editing it. It's saved on my hard drive. I'm going to go ahead and reply to this email that I've gotten from Kip asking for the major blog announcement. And I'm going to add James because I would love his input on this as well. And now when I go to attach a file in Outlook, you'll notice one thing. So one is a draft that I was just working on shows up at the top of this list. What is this list? For those of you that have been using Outlook 16 Preview, raise your hands. How many of you guys have it installed on your machines? That's great. So you might have already seen this. This is a list of the recent items that you've been working on, whether they're on your hard drive, whether they're on your OneDrive for Business, personal OneDrive.com, SharePoint team sites, all of that shows up. And what you'll notice is if it lives on your hard drive, it'll be a regular attachment. If it doesn't live on your hard drive, it'll be treated as a cloud attachment. And I'll talk about that more later in our demo. And let's say, for the sake of argument, that I didn't find the file that I was looking for, although internal data shows us that 90% of people do find the file that they're looking for in the top 3 items. But say I hadn't touched this blog post in a while. I could scroll down to the bottom, and you'll see an option for browsing web locations. And what lights up here is the ability to go directly to my OneDrive for Business folder, my personal OneDrive folder, SharePoint team sites that I've recently accessed, my groups, document libraries, and any other web locations. So this should be familiar to you if you're using the other Office apps, because it's the same set of locations that you see when you go to open a file or save a file. Those options are there. And then the fallback is, again, if I have something deep in my hard drive somewhere, I can still browse my PC and find that file. But in this case, it's great because the document that I was on is at the top of the list. I'm going to go ahead and attach it. So, as Kip mentioned earlier, we are smarter than all the pain points that he kind of outlined. I know that I want Kip and James to be able to collaborate on a single copy of this file. I want to get out of the business of having to take their comments, their feedback, merge them into one document, and then send off a final draft to our press crew to actually post this. So because I'm smarter than that, I'm going to go ahead, and now Outlook allows me to convert this to what Kip mentioned as a cloudy doc. And so if I go into the context menu, I have the option to upload to OneDrive. What I see here is my personal OneDrive, my OneDrive for Business, and any other locations that I may want to go to. I'm going to go ahead and choose my OneDrive for Business. And if you'll notice, the file is actually uploading. So you see that status. What's happening here? So from within Outlook, the file is now lives in my OneDrive for Business folder. It was that easy to just do it straight from here instead of going to OneDrive separately and uploading it there. What this is that it's essentially a link to the file in OneDrive, but it's treated like an attachment. So it shows up in my attachment well. I can filter for it as an attachment. It has the paperclip associated with it. Takes away the pain point of copying and pasting URLs into the body and then trying to go find them afterwards and being like, oh, where was that doc? We'll take questions at the end. Sorry. So the other piece is, the other pain point that we have when we copy and paste links into the body are that the recipients that we're sending it to often don't have access, or we have to go individually to OneDrive and grant them access to the document. In this case, I have not only the ability to toggle what kind of access I want to give them, so if you notice, on the second line it says recipients can edit. I can change this from the context menu to recipients can view. And as soon as I hit send on this email, what's happening in the background is that we are making those permissioning calls for you and permissioning your recipients. So when they receive the doc, they will be actually able to access it. So I'm just going to go ahead and type some pieces here and then hit send. And before I do that, let me just open the file location, because I can also do that straight from the context menu. And you can see, about a minute ago, this file was uploaded. It's currently shared with only me. I'm going to go back to Outlook and be like, hey, Kip. Whoops. Hey, Kip and James. Would love your feedback, especially on the first few paragraphs. Then we'll send it off. Thanks. So I'm going to go ahead and hit send. As soon as I do so, I'm going to go back to my OneDrive for Business folder, hit refresh, and there you go. So what you notice here is that this was permissioned without my having to do anything. Kip shows up right there, James shows up right there, and they should be able to access the document. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Kip, who's going to show you what his side of things looks like.
All right, so Misbah has sent me the email, right? I clicked on the attachment, and what you see in OA is our side-by-side view, right? So you can see your email in context with the document. You don't have to have multiple windows popped up and Alt-tab around and you lose track of everything, especially if you have a few paragraphs worth of information in your email, right? You want to be able to scroll both at the same time so that you're able to see what you're being asked to do and you can act on it. So we can go one more step and make this a much better experience. So not only can I see it side by side, but with one click of a button, I can hit edit and reply. So what's going on now is that OA is automatically creating an email reply for me, attaching that document back into my reply automatically, and my Word Online session is automatically put into edit mode for me, right? So now I can come in here and I can modify this. But I'm not modifying anything right now. So what's going on here is this is James actually doing live co-authoring on this document. Because this is the power of Office Online, we get live co-authoring in this document. Because again, this document lives in OneDrive for Business. And even furthermore, if I wanted to, I could open this document in the Word-rich client and continue editing there as well. And those edits would get saved up to the cloud. And as was just announced, we're going to have live co-authoring in the rich clients as well. So because we're so well integrated, all the great features that come out with Office Online and also with SharePoint Online, we get the benefits of those in this integrated modern attachment flow. So in this case, I do not like at all what James has put there. I do think that, if I type with one hand here, that I think Real Madrid is just a little local soccer club. I think people would much rather see Microsoft work with the Boston Red Sox. I know I would. So I'm going to say that's what we want to do. And I'm going to reply here to the team saying, let's go after the Boston Red Sox. So again, just to recap here, with literally a click of a button and a couple of fingers with one hand, I was able to reply to that message and get it back to the team. Okay, we'll switch back to Misbah now.
Working now? Great. Okay, so if you switch back, I just received an email from Kip. I'm going to go ahead and check if it indeed has what I'm looking for. No, wrong file. Didn't save. Let's try again. Double click on this file. Open. Oh, I see the Boston Red Sox right there. Okay, so it's Kip. He has the final word on what we will be releasing to the public. I'm going to go ahead and send this to the external team that we've been working with to actually post the blog. And I have an email with them ready to go. And so the file that Kip just sent me back after updating now shows up at the top of my list as a cloud file. This was the same one that I uploaded. And so I'm going to go ahead and attach it. However, I am working with an external group of folks, and I want the rest of the team to also be able to sign an NDA because I have not received that from them. So I have 2 documents attached. Both of them right now are currently cloud documents. The NDA document, I actually do not want everyone to be collaborating in there. This is a doc. This is what we would describe internally as a lawyer scenario. So it's where I've been working on the document, and I just want to send a copy of it as a regular attachment for everyone to be able to update it and send it back to me as individual copies. And so the options here for me that I could do is either change the permissions to be recipients can view only, or I can convert this back to a regular attachment. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to click Attach as Copy. And as you notice, this is now converted to a regular attachment. You see the file size no longer has the cloud overlay. It's exactly what I'm looking for. And I'm going to go ahead and send it to Garth, who's from our internal team. And one thing you'll notice is Garth has a Gmail address. Garth is external to our network, and yet I am sending him a cloud file and a regular attachment. The regular attachment, not worried at all that he can access it. Cloud file, you may be wondering how that works. So I'm going to send that to him, and what SharePoint has is that it has a guest auth flow, and so the first time that he receives a cloud file from me that's on my OneDrive for Business, he's going to have the ability to go through that auth flow, sign up to be able to access that document, and every time afterwards he will be able to access. And so I'm going to go ahead and send it to Garth, and I'll be like, please publish. And Kip will show you what it looks like on Garth's side and how we're treating down-level clients. So any external party like Gmail, the Yahoo, down-level Outlook clients like Outlook 2010, Outlook 2013, this is what you will be able to see and what the experience looks like for them.
So I'm back now, but I'm playing the role of Garth. And here I see the email that Misbah has sent me. And what you, oops, sorry. There we go. So what you see now is how we treat these cloudy docs for external customers, right? We convert it into a nicely formatted HTML format, and it's the link to the file, right? That's what you do today. So that's how all email clients that don't understand how to deal with our modern attachments will get access to these attachments. And again, you as the sender, you don't have to care about it at all. Now, since I'm outside the org, I still have to auth myself to the sender org. And in this case, what happens is you will get 2 emails sent to you. The first one, if you have never actually authed yourself into the tenant's AAD, you'll be asked to please put your creds in there so that we can remember who you are for next time. So I've already done that. So this time I get this new blog draft that I want to read. And when I click on it, I still need to sign in. So I would come in and I'd be prompted to sign in with my creds, either my MSA or an org ID accordingly. And then once I sign in, I would have full access to that document. And the other attachment here, as Gmail puts it, the regular attachments are at the bottom as well. So again, it just works. Everything just works in there.
You switch to my mic. Great. Okay. So if you switch to my screen, one thing I want to point out before we transition to our next demo is everything that I showed you in Mail with the new attachment well UI, the ability to attach cloud documents, the ability to permission them, have that happen all in the background, is now actually also available from meeting invitations. If you've ever noticed in the past, meeting invitations have been in rich text format. They've been RTF. If you insert attachments, they don't have parity with your mail experience. That has changed with the version of Outlook 2016. We've now introduced HTML format for meeting invites and appointments. So the experience should be more or less identical. If I attach a file, there's an attachment well in my meeting invitation, which is a big deal for us. We can give you kind of the same experience across all of Outlook for you. So, yeah.
And then just one final note for this part of the demos, right? We've gone back and forth. We've shown you pieces in OA, pieces in Outlook 2016, all working together, right? Everything that you saw in Desktop Outlook also exists in OA today as well. And as we release our features, they go to Office 365 first. So OA is going to be getting these features first for the most part, and then we do our best to quickly follow into the rich clients as well. So over time, you'll also see these features showing up, for instance, in the Mac Outlook client as well. All right. So
Great.
Thank you, Ms. Beth.
Thank you.
Yep, I'm there. All right. So the next part of the demo that I want to show you is that we actually are doing some work with our extensibility teams so that we can do this side-by-side and edit and reply with documents beyond Office documents. Right? So I want to show you that in action here. Right. So what you see here is something that is still in development, and I know they announced it at Build, and there's a session coming up tomorrow as well. But what happens if I get an attachment that's not Word, PowerPoint, or Excel? Sometimes that happens. We recognize that. So in this case, what you're seeing here is a GPX attachment, which is a standard file format for GPS. And there's a bunch of the new health bands and so forth that as you're running or jogging, track where you're actually going. So in this case, I was doing a little bit of exercise in another trip that I had, and I emailed this around to my friends to tell everyone, hey, this is where I've been. But now what we can do so easily in OA here is I just click on that attachment, and it also goes into our side-by-side view, and it loads up. There we go.
Kip upset me. I decided to ruin his demo.
All right, and it's back. Right? And so here, this particular file format, right, it knows how to render itself inside of our iframe. Right? And it's using Bing Maps to track itself. So this is a fully functional Bing map in here. I can do all the standard Bing map kind of stuff that you can do, and that's actually pretty cool. Right? You can just imagine if your company has its own special kind of file formats, or you're an architecture company or CAD CAM kind of company, right? If you wrote your own extension, you're able to easily let people see what you're doing without all the downloading, reloading, and so forth, all within the web browser. So I've got a couple of slides here that show you a little bit of how that actually works. So it's an extensibility play. It's part of the new add-ins modules here. And it all is predicated off of AAD. So you're writing an app that is part of the AAD infrastructure. And I will definitely say I am not an expert in this, but the basic flow is that you register your file extension. When you register your file extension, that's how we know you exist and can show your icon in the attachment well. And then the different clouds communicate with each other to authenticate themselves and to also to authenticate themselves and make sure that everything is kosher to be able to be viewed back into our iframe here. So from the time you click on something, the requests go back and forth, and then your add-in will actually do the display. And it's not only viewing, but we're also working on letting you also do an edit and reply in this same flow. So you are able to create your own verbs and be able to do some really rich activity with these files. Now, because this is a generic technology, it also works not just with us within OA, but also in the cloud with SharePoint. So if you have your file just stored up in OneDrive for Business, and you go to hover over it and have a peek in there, this exact same code runs, and you have this exact same capability with your file stored on OneDrive for Business. And as I said, if you want to know more about this, there's a session tomorrow that dives deep into exactly what's going on here. Okay. So with that, let's see. I've got another set of new functionality coming to OA that I think you'll really enjoy seeing. So we'll flip back over to my screen. And before I click on that lovely email that says new pictures, today, when you get sent email attachments, pictures as email attachments, they're probably about as bad as you can be these days, especially in these days of Facebook and Instagram, right? If you get an email attachment for a picture, you should see the picture. Well, I'm happy to say that this feature is very close to shipping worldwide, so that when you receive images, you now see large thumbnails of those images, and there's no guessing as to what they are. And if you really want to see larger pictures of those images, they also work in our side-by-side view. And you get a really nice, crisp view, nice large view of those pictures, including, if you want, right, going to full screen. So, we think this is something that is just one of those really nice delighters, and it's been a long time in coming, and we're really glad to be able to finally ship that. There's also a piece on the compose side, too. When you go to add an image, I'll pick one here. What you'll see is you get a smaller thumbnail in the attachment well as well. Right? So both on the composing side and the receiving side, we now have a rich image experience. And then furthermore, show you another feature that we've done. A lot of times when we send large files around, many things can happen. Either our own email systems can't handle them, the receiver's email systems can't handle them, or it just clogs up the system. Or admins are like, why are you sending around 10, 15, 20 meg files? So we've become smarter in OWA for you to help facilitate that. So in this case, what you can see here is OWA has detected that the amount of files I'm attaching is greater than 5 megabyte and suggesting that I send it as a OneDrive for Business file instead. And if these files went above your company's system limit, it wouldn't even allow me to send as a regular attachment. That would be disabled, and I'd only be able to upload and share them with OneDrive. So we're really helping people get used to using OneDrive and putting those requests and notifications right where the user needs them the most. Okay. All right. So now we're going to move on to James, and he's going to tell us about our on-prem story here and give you a lot of nice technical details about how it works behind the covers.
All right. Actually, I'm going to do the demo first. Oh, all right. That's right. I switched mics. Great. So first I'm going to go over some demos. Were any of you at the Foundations talk this morning about on-prem? No. Cool. So, okay, we have a few people. So the demo I'm about to do, we did this morning, kind of. It had some issues, so we're going to all keep our fingers crossed and hope that it works this time. These are running on test servers right now back in Redmond, so we're VPN'd and running everything live from on-prem code. So I'll switch over to my computer. Great. All right, so I'm going to start in Outlook Desktop. So this is Outlook Desktop connected to an on-prem account from our test tenant. So I've got this draft all ready to go. I wanted to ask them what they thought about this deck I've been putting together. When I go to attach my files, you'll see that the first file there is a presentation that I've been putting together for this event. You'll notice on the second line, they have this SPHVM nonsense. That would be your company's SharePoint address, your on-prem SharePoint. But because this is a test tenant, we have ridiculous names. So I'm going to just click on this, and this will attach us as a cloud file. Now, the same code that runs in our service will be running in this on-prem deployment. So the same permissioning goes on, the same goodness under the covers happens when you do this. The other nice thing about Desktop Outlook is because it is not tied to a server, you can also access any of the other services that you're currently connected to. So because this is my personal Outlook, I have access to my OneDrive personal and my work OneDrive for business. So if you have multiple accounts and you want to be able to access some of your cloud stuff, you can still do that with an on-prem mailbox. Permissioning may or may not work depending on what creds your on-prem has. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and send that off. Cool. And now we're going to flip it over to OWA, not that OWA, this OWA. And we're going to show you kind of one of the other experiences that you've seen today, which is the edit and reply flow. So I just got an email from It Looks Like Myself, and it's a 2016 product strategy email where we want to make sure that we're going the right direction together at this company. So I'm going to go ahead and open this in side by side. And the thing I want to remind you is this demo should be the most boring demo we've done. You've seen all this in the last 20 minutes, but this is 100% running on-prem. This is an Office Online Server 2016 on-prem, SharePoint 2016 on-prem, and Exchange 2016 on-prem, all working together to give us this cloud, this service-like experience while you have complete control over your servers. And even cooler, hopefully, is that when I hit edit and reply, the same flow works, where we create a new draft message, we make a copy of the attachment, we attach it, and then we connect the Office Online Server directly to that attached copy, and so I can make edits inside the WAC, or the Office Online Server client, and I can send this off to myself. and it's going to work beautifully because everything is awesome. So that's our kind of our quick demo of what we're doing on-prem. Again, it should be boring because that is why this cloud first and then packaging it up, being able to iterate in the cloud and shipping it on-prem is really a great strategy for us. I'm going to switch it back to some slides so we can go into some technical details about this. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what you get when you have these different servers. So as you can see, there was a lot of moving parts in that. You got Exchange server talking to a WAX server to display a classic attachment. If you want a on-prem cloudy attachment, which is a SharePoint document, you would be talking to Exchange and SharePoint and the Office web app server. So I'm just going to go through and break it down what you get when you start layering these on. So if you just have Exchange 2016 on-prem, if you just upgrade to that, you'll get that great new attachment well experience that Kip showed. You'll get all those good new photo previews. The one take-back that you will notice is you will have no preview for documents. Now in 2010, 2013, we had Stellent or WebReady or whatever you want to call it. It was a third-party document viewing experience for the web. In 2016, because we wanted to get away from that dependency, we have moved off and basically have a hard requirement for you to have the Office Online or the Office Web App Server 2016 to do document viewing inside of OA. So that is one change. When you add the Office Web App Server, you get the side-by-side previews that I showed you and the edit and reply flow for classic docs. So for regular attachments, when people send you, you can still do that reply flow where I get the attachment, I make changes, I can respond to the email all in that one click. And when you add SharePoint 2016, you're able to share the SharePoint cloudy files or link files. You can do edit and reply with Cloudy Doc, which includes co-authoring and that great integration with our rich clients. And if you have the new 2016 Word, you'll still get the great live experience. We also have one feature that I don't believe we showed you, which was save classic attachments to OneDrive or to your SharePoint documents library. So for all classic attachments, for all regular attachments, because people send those, we basically have an experience where you can just say, you know what, I just want to put this directly into my SharePoint documents library or my OneDrive so that I can access it later or on any device and have that easy access to the document. All right, so now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the flow that happens, how our servers communicate to each other for these side-by-side experiences. So this first one I'm going to talk about is how Exchange and Office Web App Server work together to do our side-by-side view experience of classic documents. So before you log on, before you do anything, Exchange has used a discovery URL to ask the Office Web App Server which of the files it can view and edit. So this will be stuff like .doc, .docx, .pdf, for example. So we'll say, okay, so what file type should I be looking for in OA? And they'll get a list back from that. And ideally, as we start to support more file types from the Office Online server, that table will get bigger. Whenever a user opens a mail with an attachment that matches one of those supported types, Exchange automatically goes and requests that document URL. When a user opens an attachment with that type, Exchange returns a document URL that they've built with an auth token, with the document ID, so that we can understand which document to go grab. So OA gets that URL, and when a user actually clicks that attachment to open it, we put that URL in an iframe. And what this does is it points to the Office WAX, or the Office Online server, Office Web App server, sorry. And when we iframe that, it basically there is a token inside the URL that goes and says, hey, you know what, I have credentials for this document in Exchange, and that is what the Office Web App Server uses to go and authorize the transaction of the document from the Exchange store into the Office Web App Server so that it can render inside of the OA experience. This is a bit difficult. This is a lot of steps. But the idea is that we can make this simple for setup, and your users shouldn't ever understand this complexity. So now we're going to make it a little more difficult. We're going to add SharePoint into the mix and do side-by-side viewing of on-prem cloudy docs. So the first couple of steps are the same. You still want to know what file types you can render. And users are still going to open mail that have these document types. But in this case, they're going to be the SharePoint attachment. So here is where we actually go and ask SharePoint for a complete URL. So OA has a pointer URL that it uses, and OA says, hey, you know what, we have this URL in the mail they just opened. Go get the WAC, or the Office Web App Server version of this so that I can iframe it. So the SharePoint server returns that to Exchange, and Exchange passes the message along. When a user clicks on that attachment, it does the same thing where it goes and starts loading the web app inside that iframe. But instead of the transaction going between the Exchange store and the Office Web App Server, it goes between SharePoint and the Office Web App Server. And then it gets rendered in whatever client that it is. So a Word web app is an example of this. All right. So that was kind of the flow of information through our system for those experiences, and things like save to OneDrive or any of our other cloud-connected or on-prem SharePoint-connected experiences use very similar transaction models. So what do you need to know as an admin for these types of features? Well, the first big thing is the timeline. So in summer 2015, so coming up really soon, we'll have tech preview for our Exchange-only features. So we'll have the new attachment well, the photos experience, all ready to go, so you guys can deploy and test those in your enterprise. In fall, Exchange 2016 has its GA, so we'll clearly be shipping with that, and tech preview happens for SharePoint and the Office web apps. So at that time, you can take our GA bits and their tech preview bits, and the full set of features is technically in tech preview for that audience. And in spring 2016, when SharePoint and Office web apps go to their GA, is when these features will be lit up and well supported for your orgs. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the setup that we're looking at right now. These next couple of points are purposely vague because we're still finalizing where we're going to put it and how we're going to set everything. We basically will have 3 properties in Exchange that will enable these features. You'll have your SharePoint endpoint URL, which is just pointing to your SharePoint deployment so it knows where OneDrives are located. You'll have it's called a WAC server URL because we internally call it WAC. And you have a SharePoint external URL. And the SharePoint external URL is used if you have different endpoint URLs for SharePoint depending on whether you're inside your corporate network or outside your corporate network. This will be optional depending on what your setup's like. We'll use Exchange commandlets to set all of these properties. This shouldn't be anything new for your admins or for you guys to set. And one thing that I wanted to talk a little bit about was how we deal with customers with large, complex topologies that span multinational or geographically dispersed Exchange deployments where you have a set of mailboxes in Apex and maybe a set of mailboxes in North America. So one thing we didn't want to do is we didn't want to basically hamstring you say, okay, you have to put all of your Office web app servers in one location, and then all your Exchange mailboxes have to talk to that one location. And if those locations are super far away from each other, well, lag sucks. We didn't want to do that, so we basically have thought about this, and this is a quick diagram that kind of shows how we think about this. So essentially, when you have 2 separate regions, you'll have your Exchange mailboxes set up, and you can pair Office web app server deployments with your Exchange mailboxes so that they always go and hit servers that are near to them so you don't incur any extra lag when you're opening these documents and doing viewing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what our hybrid story is now. So hybrid is definitely still in progress. We're working on this right now. We're working through the technical challenges. The initial focus for our hybrid, and when I say hybrid, we've overloaded that word a lot. It can mean half Exchange mailboxes in the cloud, half on-prem. It can mean different parts of your deployment are in the cloud and on-prem. It can just mean that you have AAD. When we say it, we mean OneDrive for Business in the cloud and Exchange on-prem. That's the focus we've been going after. We would love to hear back if that is not what you were hoping for. If there are other deployments, other hybrid deployments that you find more interesting or that your companies are looking at, we would like to have that feedback so we can update or adjust our plans. So we're currently working on how to make this setup seamless. As I showed you before, we have those 3 properties that we're going to be using to point at the different Office Online Server and the SharePoint. The idea is that we want to just be able to change these settings to point at cloud endpoints instead of on-premise endpoints, and everything just works. We're currently working to make that a reality, but hopefully that will come soon. So right now we have this planned all in the same time frame as our on-prem story. So GA for this is the same GA as Exchange 16. So we're really pushing this quickly and trying to get this stuff out as fast as possible because we know that there are a lot of people that still have on-prem deployments and have hybrid deployments, and we love to see the move to the cloud. So one thing I'd like to ask before I hand it back off is how many of you guys run or are part of companies that run on-prem deployments of Exchange? All right. So that's a pretty good indication that this is really important. Satya told me that you guys need to go to the cloud, but I understand why you haven't yet. So I'm going to hand it back off to Kip, and he's going to take us home.
Oh, and just one more point for on-prem. The TAP customers program is still looking for customers who are interested in joining the on-prem program, pre-release program. So if that's something you're interested in, please contact your appropriate account people. Okay, so we're coming up on the ends here, but I do want to show a few features that I can't demo for you because they're not quite ready yet. They're still being actively worked on here. All right, so first off, even though I love talking about our great document collaboration features, I know that in OA right now, picking an attachment is a little bit bumpy. We purposely put OneDrive for Business right in front of people's eyes when they went to go attach attachments. And we did that for a very good reason. We wanted to let people know that they can now do this. But we knew it also slowed some people up. So we're actively working on addressing that issue. So let me show you. Right? So it does take a couple of extra clicks to get through the process. But based on the user feedback, we're in the process of streamlining this flow now. And we're going to do this without giving up the ease of attaching OneDrive files. So it starts with the menu item itself. Right? We're converting this to a menu button. So once you click on it, it will go straight to the file dialog. So you click on it, and it now will bring up the file dialog for you. So that takes away one click right there. And then once you have this up, and say, that, still the vast majority of people are picking files off of their local PC and still attaching them as classic attachments. We'll get there, but it takes time. So when I click on my computer and bring up my operating system file picker, I'll pick my file. But now what happens, on this second panel screen, we now have a checkbox for you. And it says, remember my choice for this type of file. So what this means is if I check that box and I take a file off my PC and say, just send it as a classic attachment, next time I will not see this panel. And the same, if I pick a file from OneDrive for Business and want to send it as a Cloudy doc, I can do that without ever seeing this panel again. So I check that checkbox, and I can attach my file. So if I never see that file again, we've reduced 3 clicks right there, and you're back to what you're used to doing. right? But there are cases where, hey, maybe once in a while, or maybe I'll get used to OneDrive files. I do want to send it as a Cloudy doc. So as Misbah actually showed you earlier, in OA2, you'll have the option in the drop-down menu for the item here to go ahead and say upload to my OneDrive. And you can just simply click on that, and it will upload straight to your OneDrive for you, right? So all sorts of ways to really streamline this process, but still make it incredibly easy to get your files into OneDrive or get your files out of OneDrive and send them as Cloudy docs. All right, so the next feature I want to show you is what we call inline doc previews. So how many of you are familiar with what OA does today? If you copy and paste a YouTube link or a web page link in, you get like a preview of that. It's very similar to what Facebook does. So we're looking to do the same thing when you copy and paste a OneDrive link into your email, right? So that still is what a lot of people do. They'll copy and paste links into their emails, and you don't get the permissioning, right? And it's a link, you don't get the paperclip icon. We are going to do a lot better. So now, when you're going ahead and you type in or copy and paste in a link, we will recognize that as a OneDrive file, and we will give you a rich preview of that document. Okay, we're working with the Delve team to be able to get at the appropriate metadata of that document, give you a great thumbnail, a little blurb of what that is, right? Additionally, this will also let you set permissions on that link. So you will get all the power of our Cloudy docs in the attachment well. You will get that exact same functionality here if you copy and paste a URL in. That's pretty cool. It will just work. And then finally, some more cowbell for you, right? So we're working with OneDrive for Business today. You may have heard of other cloud providers like OneDrive.com, maybe Dropbox, maybe even Box or Google Drive, right? So what we're doing is when one goes to attach a file, you will now have an opportunity to add other cloud providers. So when I go to add another cloud provider, maybe we'll do OneDrive.com, your personal OneDrive. I will say it's more than a maybe. We are doing this. Right? And so I go ahead and I select that, and if I haven't authenticated myself, we'll prompt you to authenticate yourself. We will grab your files, and we will put them into the flow just like it works today with OneDrive for Business. Right? So you'll have OneDrive for Business and your OneDrive Personal side by side. All those files are in there, and your flow will be the exact same. So as an end user, you don't have to learn anything new. Right? It's all right there for you. But there's more than just OneDrive.com. There's a company called Dropbox. And we are actively working with Dropbox to do the exact same thing. So if you select Dropbox in here, right, you'll be asked to authenticate. You'll be able to easily access the Dropbox files. And in the future, there'll be others to come. So you can think about this as another form of an extensibility play here as well, right? We're looking to tightly integrate with certain providers, and we have some ideas of letting other providers sort of build their own add-ins as well. All right. So, in summary, we've talked about an awful lot today, right? A lot of features, a lot of endpoints. I don't expect you to read all of that right now and memorize it, but it's there in the deck for you to reference here, right? The point is we lead on the web, and we quickly follow to the rich clients when we can. We've talked about Cloudy docs and classic attachments. We've talked about upsells and downsells to be able to easily convert them. We've talked about our side-by-side view in edit and reply. We've talked about the great new image capabilities we have with attachments. And we've talked about our extensibility plays with both side-by-side as well as going to share new files from new cloud storage, right? And this cuts across our on-prem and hybrid situations. So with that, I thank you all for coming. I know it's late. It's the last session. You're probably hungry and you want to leave. But before you leave, we're here. We're happy to answer any questions for you. I guess I just ask if you go to the microphone, that helps with recording. If not, we'll do our best to repeat the questions for you. So thank you very much. Okay. So we'll start over here.
Okay, so my question is, you guys have opened this up for OneDrive, Dropbox, all that. I'm with the Federal Reserve. We want nothing going out. So via GPO or some type of data loss prevention, how do we stop our desktops from dropping documents into the cloud or providing certain URLs where they do? I want to, like right now, I know I can't even take out OneDrive out of my Outlook files box, and we need that ability because we're not allowed to do that.
Okay, right. So when we start adding other cloud providers outside of OneDrive for Business, we will be providing admins capabilities not to have that show up at all.
Or
For the end
rename it,
users.
or like instead of it showing up as OneDrive, show up as our FedShare, our SharePoint, and stuff like that. Just that instead. Like, can I control what I allow my users to access?
Right. So I mean, in general, we are aware that we have to have the appropriate level of admin controls in there. So for that exact reason, so that you're able to control what users are able to do. Okay.
My question, I have two questions. The first one is, in the demo early on when we were working with Cloudy Docs, and it's your document, but the other user may have need to search for that document later on. And one of the things that we've experienced in OneDrive to date is the difficulty in mining and finding files that others have shared with us because they're not easily exposed. Is that also being addressed? Because that would only tend to make the situation worse.
So there's an awful lot going on with search, and we are just at the beginning of it. So right now, when you do a search and for a Cloudy Doc attachment, you will find, if you do a search for the name of the attachment, we will find that directly. And they said there's two main parts that we are investigating. One is what you said is not just my own docs, but docs that have been shared with me, and treating those as the same. Because if it's shared with me, then I want to find it.
Right.
And then the other part that we are actively investigating is when you do a search, being able to actually search inside the doc of a Cloudy Doc. So that doesn't work today at the moment, but that is something we're actively looking at. So we're well aware of those issues, and we are investigating.
Okay. And the other question I had was just a point of clarification. The first time a third party, outside party, goes to access the file, the authflow still requires that that person create some form of MS credential, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Maybe I misunderstood. When you attach the document the first time, the on-prem document, and you transferred it to OneDrive, two-part question. First of all, can you choose natively where they go, or do they just go to the root of OneDrive? And the second question is, have you not now split the data into two places and having a duplicate that could end up being the wrong file sent later on to the wrong person? Because you've now got two copies of the file, or is it still natively connected?
So the answer to the first question is where does that file go when you save it to OneDrive? Right? So we create an email attachments folder in your OneDrive, and that's where everything goes by default. We've certainly heard feedback about, hey, that's great, love it, but it would be nice if maybe I had an option to save it someplace else. So that's a feature that we're looking into. And then the second part of the question is about, do you potentially create a duplication of where the files are? And the simple answer is you could, depending on what you do, but it's very similar to what you do today if you copy a file over to OneDrive and it's still on your local drive. So we haven't solved the world's problems with this. There still is, a little bit of thinking you need to do. But we think that this makes it a lot easier to just move everything to the cloud, and you don't have to worry about that duplication of effort.
Easier, yes, but it would be nice if it hard linked and moved it rather than duplicate it, because otherwise you're not solving anything, as far as I can see anyway.
Right. So, and one.
Hello? Okay, great. So one thing that is a little different about this, especially when you're doing the upsell experience, is that you're not basically duplicating that off your PC. You're duplicating you are connecting that thing that is attached to that email message So today you're creating tons of copies when you send it around, when you do edit reply. Would it be, yeah, it would be good to be able to connect all these experiences and make sure that you only have one copy of the file anywhere, and our hope for that is that all files just exist in OneDrive. So if you put it in there in the first place, then it never matters.
Got to fix syncing to make that one a reality.
But again, you're right. We have lots of different ideas about how you can tie the two together, right? If you have them in both places, and how you deal with sync folders, right? There's some very interesting challenges there that we look forward to conquering. Okay, thank you.
All right. So I've noticed that each time you guys show the Cloudy Docs attachment methodology, you guys are always going through the attach file method. I notice a lot of users don't do that. They go to File Explorer and they drag the file over. And, even if it's in a OneDrive folder in their File Explorer, they're still dragging it over. You guys are doing that cool thing with the link where you're auto-recognizing that. We plan on doing the same thing there. I mean, essentially, you're bringing a link over when you pull that file over.
Yep, that's on the roadmap. So if you're dragging a file that's already in your OneDrive sync client, right? That's your question. And you're just dragging it from Explorer into Outlook to attach it, which we know a lot of people do. That is on our roadmap for updating. So with Outlook 2016, we'll be making updates monthly. And so if you're on Office 365, you'll get those updates, and that's a feature that we hope to light up soon, where we treat that as a cloud file because it is essentially already in OneDrive, and so it will be attached as a cloud attachment.
Right. Okay. And then like everything else, I could just choose to make it a regular attachment if I wanted to. Okay. The side-by-side view that you guys are rolling out, I've seen that you guys are only showing the side-by-side, the edit reply view in the OWA. Is that going to come into? I know you guys are saying everything's going to trickle down, so I'm assuming it will, but I just wanted to confirm.
So we have every intention to bringing that same functionality to the rich clients. As you can imagine, what does it mean, right? How do you get that side by side is what is really our design challenge. But every intention to get that same ease and flow. Yes.
Just one more, sorry. So I noticed that when you could copy and paste a link, the raw link, and then it would kind of automatically transform it to a Cloudy doc. What if I hyperlink that to say, click here to view the document? Does it do the same thing?
Right. So the current intention is no. We won't go into a hyperlink because we have that exact same issue today with our regular inline previews. As I mentioned, like if you copy and paste a YouTube link in there, you get a preview of a YouTube player, and you can click on it, and it will play for you. And we made a very purposeful decision that if that was, hey, click here to see my YouTube, right? We would not trigger that because that goes against the intention of thing. So Ms. was asking, if I do copy and paste a link and the beautiful inline preview comes in and you're like, I just don't want that. Yes, you're able to easily delete that whole thing as well and get back to the link.
So then you can still create that hyperlink and have the preview.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
That would be nice because previews, if you could set that on a user preference,
Right.
depending on the file type. Because there's certain things I never want, and there are other file types where I might always want.
Right. So the question there is there are certain file types that would be awesome, and other file types I'd never want them. It would be great to have user preferences to be able to set that. So that's an excellent idea. You can always remove the preview with a click too. Yes. I know, it's an extra click. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thank you. Over here.
All right. You know how SharePoint handles Adobe documents where instead of opening in the native application, it opens as a web page? Does OneDrive handle it the same way?
Right, so exactly the same way. So if you get a PDF file, actually Word Online handles PDF files. Right, so if you click on a PDF file as an attachment, it will actually open up in side-by-side inside Word Online. We also know PDF files are the most popular attachments sent around. So we're always on the lookout for interesting ways we can make that experience better for folks too.
All right. Any suggestions to open in the in a native application as opposed to as a
Oh,
web page?
so the question is, hey, side-by-side view is great, but I want to still open up in my native application. We have heard that a lot, and a lot from people internally too, so that is definitely something that we're investigating as well, to make the default action maybe open in the rich client as opposed to side-by-side. That's on the OA side, right? On the desktop side, you still get that same behavior that you get today.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, I just have a quick question. We recently started using OneDrive for Business, and it seems like if we're sending out a OneDrive attachment to someone that's outside of the organization, obviously you have two choices. You have the guest link, and you can have the the sign in. Assuming you don't know whether they have an Office 365 account or whatever the case is that the only method that you can send it as a guest link for them to view your document?
See, so today, if you're sending any Cloudy Doc outside your tenant, then it gets a down-level experience. So in this case, that is the flow. So in order to be able to access that, right, if that doc is set up that, hey, you have to log in, then yes, you will have to create an MSA account to be able to log in. You initially get a golden ticket that says, hey, whoever redeems this golden ticket, I now know about, and then from there on I know about you, but you still have to log in with your MSA or ID to be able to look at the file.
Okay, I guess my only question was because, if we're a professional services company and we're sending out, attachments to our clients, they're not going to sit there and create a Microsoft account to access the document, it seems like. So the best play would be to have it sent as a guest link. The problem with that is when you look at your OneDrive account then, you're not able to see who you've shared it out with because it's a guest link, whereas if I share it out to like 8 people within my organization, I get those 8 names that Bill, Bob, Tom, and whoever have access to it, whereas a guest link, I have no idea who I sent it to 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so the simple answer is we piggyback on top of the auth flows that OneDrive for Business provides. So part of that is that anonymous permissioning is coming. We don't have that yet. We just have the edit and view, but anonymous is coming. Doesn't necessarily solve everything, as you said, but that's one step. We also, in this particular case, we've had some people say, hey, when I know I'm sending it outside the tenant as a Cloudy Doc, hey, it would be really great if I had an option, if you could convert that to a classic attachment as it's going outside because, hey, I just want them to get a classic attachment. So that's a very interesting thought, too, about how we could potentially help users who want to say, hey, it's going outside the tenant. Maybe you want to send it as a classic attachment.
But for the time being, I would just have my user send it as a guest link then, I'm assuming.
Right, yes, that's the conclusion. I mean, I think your feedback is that we should rely on not just them creating an MSA, and that's great feedback that we will provide to the OneDrive team, so that there's other ways to authenticate into the document.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For people running, Office 16 and they don't have the back-end infrastructure in place, are those features grayed out as far as the attachments are concerned when you look at that? So.
Yeah, so your question is Office 16, they don't, actually, can you repeat the second half?
So you have you're running Office 16, but you don't have, on the on-prem, Exchange or SharePoint isn't the latest version. Are those features in Outlook going to be grayed out, or is it just going to show up and then just doesn't function?
They will not be visible. Okay.
And then the second question is in regards to third-party providers that provide encryption services. Is Microsoft working with vendors to ensure that files are passed through seamlessly without running into encryption issues as far as once they're sent out and shared to outside?
We're not working with third parties on that. However, if a third party has encrypted a document, that's still respected. Like, we're not touching the contents of the document in any of the scenarios that we talked about.
Okay.
So if it's uploaded there and still encrypted, that remains.
Thank you.
One more? Yeah.
Hi. One last maybe. You were always talking about OneDrive. Is there also an intention to include team sites and team portals from SharePoint, or is it only excluding OneDrive for Business?
Yeah, so in Outlook 2016, if you're picking files, you'll see the ability to pick files from all of your SharePoint team sites and the ability to browse to your SharePoint team sites and pick a file there and attach it as a Cloud Doc. I think it is in our roadmap to allow the ability to be able to upload there too, but that's not in the first version that we're releasing. And Kip can talk more about it.
Yeah, on the O365 side, it is, as you're absolutely right, the main focus is OneDrive for Business. We continue to work with the SharePoint Online team on different ways to be able to reach into team sites, and we have a variety of ideas there. So you should expect, over the coming months, you should expect to see better reach into other files one way or another.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
So this is kind of a roadmap question. Do you guys have any plans to redesign or add some of this file sharing capabilities within the Windows File Explorer directly? I mean, everyone lives and breathes in that. You go to any business, every one person almost has that open, that Windows File Explorer open, and it hasn't had a sharing facelift in the longest time.
So I think the overall caveat is we're not the Windows team, so I'm actually not quite sure what they have planned. I think from the outside looking in, I mean, they're definitely making a big bet with like OneDrive.com sync folder being part of just the operating system, right. And there's a general thought that, hey, OneDrive is your hard drive. It just happens to be in the cloud, and that it shouldn't matter where that doc is, whether it's in the cloud or on your hard drive. It should just work. So I know there's a lot of thinking around those areas, but that's just me actually, as a consumer, looking in and seeing what's going on. I don't have any further insight. Ms.
Okay.
Yeah, Windows 10, they are doing some work to improve the file picker, the Explorer experience all up.
They definitely did. I mean,
yeah.
I'm using the technical preview, and
right.
they added the quick links, quick pins, and there's a lot of really
items,
cool stuff.
All of that is in there.
Share hasn't changed, though.
Right, share has not
share
changed.
tab. It's the same as 90s.
And share, is that in the context of being able to share a document that's already in your OneDrive folder?
Yeah, I can share it with my home group. I can share it with different users on my network. Like it's
I think that falls more under the OneDrive team, and that's something we can definitely follow up with them.
That's just on any file in Windows File Explorer. If you right,
there's a share.
If you right click, there's a
share tab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
No,
and I think that's
great feedback. Yeah.
As we move forward, we're working with we have partner teams working in Exchange and Office and Outlook to get our share experience more aligned. And as we see those kind of converge, I'm sure we will start talking more with the Windows team, because as a company, we clearly want a
unified experience.
Yeah, unified experience.
Just food for thought. I mean, you guys could create the goldmine of file sharing app within Windows File Explorer. I mean, you could more or less create OneDrive in a rich desktop client that just replaces File Explorer. It's kind of my dream that you guys would do one day, because it really hasn't changed much.
Right. Yeah. No, that's wonderful feedback, and exactly what we want to hear. So.
And since whoever's left here, I have 3 more shirts that I can give away. So you are all right. I saw 3 hands go up first. The back. I'm not sure what size these are. If they're not your size, maybe throw them to somebody else.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night.